Returning home from a war zone doesn't mean everything returns to normal. Service members have to deal with physical and emotional pain that take years to fully heal. Army veteran Bill Lawson is one person who is trying to make sure all veterans here get the care they need. Bill, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you all for having me.
Of course, and I want to start off by saying the month of April is Paralyzed Veterans of America Awareness Month, and this coincides of why you're visiting Washington and the great work that you're doing. But I want to start with your experiences. You served for 11 years in the Army.
Yes.
And then that's when you were injured. Tell us about that.
Well, I was injured while I was serving over in Okinawa, and I came home and found myself looking at four walls and saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? And a friend of my mom and dad's came by. He was a paralyzed veteran, a member of the organization. And he came by and said, come with me, and I went to a couple of meetings with him, and I got hooked. So I've been working with paralyzed veterans ever since.
That's nice to hear you had a place, because we hear so many times these days there's a lot more services, a lot more outreach programs for wives, for injured vets. But back in the 60s and the 70s and the Vietnam era, there wasn't.
No, there still isn't.
There's not enough, you're right.
No, let me just tell you that for severely disabled veterans today, statistics tell us that it's about 85% unemployment rate.
Wow.
And that's just something we can't live with. And paralyzed veterans recognize this. About 6 years ago, we started what we call Operation PAVE, which is paving access for veterans' employment. We actually meet the veterans at the bedside, because that's where everything has to start. And we talk through at the bed, then we bring them through our vocational rehabilitation program. Then we marry them up with an employer that we think will fit good with what their disability is. And we put them back to work. And we stay with them for life. If they happen down the road lose that job, we're gonna continue to try to help them out. That's
great to hear. The number of veterans coming back from the Middle East now that are injured, and I've been to Walter Reed and visited them, missing one limb, two limbs. It's daunting to see that. But what is so inspiring is really how they're acting afterwards. A lot of them would want to go back, they say, and they have such a great spirit about them. So it breaks your heart at the same time to hear that, they've retired from the military and nobody's hiring them. Why? They have the know-how, they have the experience. These are people that are hard workers. What's in the way?
What's in the way is maybe a little bit of fear, I think. Employers, when they hear that somebody has a disability, a severe disability, the first thing that goes through their head, my gosh, what am I going to have to do to be able to put this guy to work or gal? And that's partly what our counselors do. They work with the employers and they show them. An example would be somebody that maybe has lost most of their sight. Maybe for doing a computer program, all it takes is maybe a bigger monitor so that person can go back to work. It's just the small things.
They can still do the job.
Yes, yes.
It's just making it work for that individual. Right. You're also visiting a lot of VA hospitals as you're traveling. What have you encountered? Tell me about some people you've met.
I met one gentleman that he was a brand new spinal cord injury, met him down in Miami, and his spirit was really so high. I've got to tell you the story that he told me, though. He said that, I had to actually spend my birthday in rehab in this hospital. And he was injured to the level that he was still on oxygen because it was a high injury. And he said that his family decided to surprise him, and they showed up with a birthday cake for him with a bunch of candles on it, and here he is on oxygen, and he's yelling at him, go away, and they thought that something was wrong,
Right.
But he laughs about that today, That's an amazing story that he'll have for the rest of his life. But he told me, he says, when I get out of here, I'm going to get back to work. And he's one of the people that we put through our rehab, and he is back to work.
That's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
But the numbers still are high.
High.
If somebody hears this, and you talked about the counselors that can help these employers hire our veterans, what do they need to do to get in touch and to make the hiring process easier? Well,
I've got a couple of websites that they can go to. I'd send them to pvaawareness.org. That is our site for the tour that I'm doing this month. Also, they can simply go to pva.org. And they can get connected through our Veterans Benefits departments through that, and they'll certainly hook them up with these counselors. We need a lot more employers to step up to the plate and work with us so we can get these people back to work.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for your service. And
well, thank you,
thank you
ma'am.
for
It was my
being
honor.
here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, up next on the show, do you consider yourself to be good at networking? We're going to tell you.